Coming up next.
If we think about like when kids are exposed to images, and this is why it's so important, like the average age is like 8 or 9 for
Yeah.
young men,
Okay, say
and
that again because someone needs to hear this.
eight
The average
is
age for a child to see a pornographic image is 8 or 9.
8. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And here's the thing. Their brains don't know how to process it. The
yeah.
dopamine loop, it becomes an addiction. We not to go deep down in there, but it's the same thing like a gambling addiction or anything along that lines. Um, they're not set up for that. And
Yeah.
normally dopamine's our pleasure chemical. So like a good conversation like you and I are having, that can hit us like a 2 or 3. But when you are exposed to something that just takes you to the max, like 9 or a 10, I say it's like putting nitro fuel in a go-kart. That makes me sound
Mhm.
old, but it's going so fast.
Welcome to Overwhelmed to Overcomer podcast with coach, encourager, and strategist Anna McLaughlin. If you're a Christian woman who has big dreams rooted in an even bigger God, but most days those dreams feel completely out of reach, trust me, I get it. As a homeschooling mama of 4, entrepreneur, investor, and all-around wearer of many hats, I am right there with you. And yet the Lord invites us to live out our God-given purpose now, in the midst of the madness. So, let's explore together how we can know our calling and walk in it today. With clarity, with courage, with each other. It's time for you to live the life you love and love the life you live. Let's do this thing.
Hey there, friend, and welcome to this latest episode of Overwhelmed to Overcomer. We all remember the talk when we were growing up, but we know it's a whole new world of parenting. So I have Doug Moore with us today. We're laughing already in the midst of hard, serious material. We're going to talk through how to protect, shepherd, and guide our children through this wild world of internet and all things that can lead to them seeing images we don't want them to see, them being exposed to pornography or other just dark and dangerous places. So, Doug, thank you so much for being here. How'd I do introing us?
Well, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm
So,
excited about being here.
me too. We've had all kinds of fun getting together already, and it's just going to get better because we get to dig into rich things to fortify the body, especially parents who want so much to help guide their children in purity and right living. So, give us a little taste of you. Tell us what brought you to this important conversation and anything else you want to share with us.
Certainly. Yeah, I'm a registered nurse. Years ago, I got certified as a SANE nurse, which is a sexual assault nurse examiner. Also a husband, a dad of 3. And so my background, not only as I'm a nurse, but for years I was in youth ministry. Even in my younger years, I led young men in the woods as a wilderness guide. And I've sat across many young men and families for years. And really, what has brought me to this subject is just seeing the crisis of dads and moms struggling how to tackle digital addiction, AI now, images that we don't want our kids to see. So this it's become a passion project of mine to really get the word out there. As a nurse, I see the clinical side. So God's really given me ability to see this from 3 different aspects.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so from the clinical side, and then from actually mentoring families and being involved with families through ministry, and then as a parent as well. Is that the third angle? What's the third angle?
Or the third angle is I used to lead kids in the wilderness for
Oh yeah.
years as a young man. So I would, and really the book I've written is from many of if you read my book, it's like every bad thing I did in the wilderness or crazy things that happen. And I really have tried to correlate that with life to make it interesting, but also there's a lot of life lessons in that.
And
So
your
yeah,
book is,
I did that.
so tell me
Go
more.
ahead.
Let's dig in there. Your book is called The Vanguard Project. What does that mean?
Mhm.
What's the Vanguard Project?
Vanguard traditionally is someone that leads the way. So we can use that as a military term. The vanguard is someone that goes before a group of men or a troop and finds the path, the clear path, a way to lead that. So one of the analogies I use in the book is search and rescue. And there's lots of terms like this, but search and rescue would be the after dad or mom. Like, hey, I want to figure out what to do after something happens. But the goal with the book and the material and the ministry is to give moms and dads the tools. How do we lead the way? How do we have these preemptive conversations? Or even if something has happened, how do we lead our children out of the digital fog, as I like to say?
The digital
Yeah.
fog. It feels like that. Like I think of my own childhood, and the internet was like brand baby new when I was growing up. And so we were dropping off one of our kids at summer camp, and they didn't even mention to bring a screen, because the assumption was everyone's going to have one. And so they just start talking about make sure parental controls are on. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do those things, first of all. And I don't
Yeah.
really want my now it's a camp where it makes sense for them to have a device to a degree. It's not a sleepaway camp, but I'm still like, why do all these kiddos have all these, like, we have to send a spare thing with him because we don't have that stuff, but it's just the assumption. So okay, for those of you who are listening, we're going to get to, for sure, what do we do if something's happened
Mhm.
already? But take us here first, Doug. What do we need to know as parents to help protect these kids coming from a context where most of us didn't even grow up with this stuff? And so we're just lost.
Yeah, I saw this term the other day that we kind of grew up in the internet. I don't want to steal that, but I love that. Like, technology was slow. We had control of it. Like, we were introduced to the internet, and I'm a little bit older, but the way we connected in digital is we would dial our computers up to each other.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
wow.
it was very controlled. The biggest thing as parents is to be aware of what our kids are connected to, right? That's like a duh thing. You're like, oh, I'm glad I got on this podcast to know that. But really, really is to be aware. I mean, and you would be surprised how many parents aren't aware of what their kids are touching or being exposed to, which digital devices. I recently wrote an article for our local paper just talking about different aspects of the internet that our kids are, and I don't want to go down this tangent, but I'll kind of this helps, but just talk about Roblox as a thing. There's
Mhm.
Minecraft and there's Roblox.
Yeah.
And many parents don't know that Roblox is the wild, wild west. So I could just say that, like, adults can do whatever they want in Roblox, and they can make themselves seem like they are a young person. So being aware of what our kids are connected to is very, very important. We can put
Mm.
every filter we want on there. But kids are smart. We were smart kids too, but we
Yeah.
didn't have to. But kids are going to find a way to get around any type of digital um, filter, and they'll use any device too. I could share a story how kids even use the Bible app in a local group I was involved in to share inappropriate images with each other. So they're going to
Whoa.
find a
Oh
way. I
my
know it's crazy.
gosh.
So not
Ah.
to scare us, but just to know that even in the advent of AI, our goal is to just be aware. I want parents to be aware that that device, or even the devices our cousins may have, or just being. And I talk about that a lot. But sorry, to answer your question,
No, this is
that's
what I
where we
want to
start: is
know.
to be aware.
So how do
Um,
we learn? Because I'll just share our own example. Like, I didn't realize that games allowed you, that there was like the chat feature of games. Because in the Super
mhm.
Mario world, that was not a thing. You played
Oh no,
alone or had a second controller and your friend was sitting next to you. And so we found that out by accident because it kept asking if we wanted to add a chat feature. It said you need to connect to the internet so that you can chat. And I'm like, A, I don't know how to do that. And B, we're not doing that. So there we go. Like, it
right,
was so in that case, my failures of technological aptitude helped, but I feel like they can equally hurt. So, like, how do we find this out? Are we Googling? Are we talking to other parents? Are there
sure,
websites we go to? How do we find out? Because I'm
yeah,
sure someone's
um,
brain just exploded about the Roblox thing. I bet they
right.
didn't know.
Well, I mean, I will tout a source that I created, the vanguardproject.org, that I do have links
Great.
in there and tools that you need. It is ever changing, not to scare you even more, but there are even apps out there that our kids can use that look like a calculator, but it's not really a calculator. It leads into other avenues.
What's that
So
called? Wait, do we want to say
uh,
what it's called or do we want to not say what
no,
it's
I mean
called?
it's just like a calculator, but kids know there's a code. Probably not
Oh,
our kids, but there's a code they can type in a password their friends have told them, and it opens up a world of like um, images we don't want our kids to see, games that we don't want our kids to see. And the crazy thing about the chat features, so not, I don't want to be an alarmist about technology because I feel like if we shut everything down, our kids are going to use technology. So
yep.
we want to teach them how to use it responsibly. And so, yeah, there's apps out there. One of the things that I tell my 11-year-old Gus, so I have three kids, a 22-year-old daughter, a 19-year-old daughter, but I'm 11-year-old Gus, and he
Mhm.
is my passion. But one of the things we talk about is being aware of how he uses. I'm trying to teach him how to use the device responsibly.
Yeah.
But as parents, we just need to know what our kids have on their phones, right?
Yeah.
And I have tools, but I do recommend putting filters on there that you do have control over the content that they have. But,
Yeah.
in constant conversations, I will say that one of the things I do with Gus, and I will go down this way a little bit, but I have conversation scripts in the book where if you don't know how to talk about this with your kids, like what's on your device, you don't even know what to say, it's in there. But just being aware that, hey, I'm going to look at your phone and you can look at my phone. Be transparent. You can see what's on
Mhm.
my phone. I want to see what's on your phone, and just know everything that's on their device. Because
Mhm.
to answer your question, there's not a definitive list because it's changing daily.
Yeah.
AI is writing itself, not to be an alarmist, but I mean, we cannot keep up with the rapid change of technology,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And
Mhm.
one of the things we can take the pornography part, the digital addiction, all of this, but really what I'm pushing in this book is just to have, and it sounds like you're there, Anna, but just to have a real relationship with your kids where everything
Yeah.
is like, we're gonna talk about this, and not in the era when we were kids where our parents like, don't come inside, the light's not on, you go out there, and I mean, the street
Yeah.
light's not on, you stay outside and stay
Yeah.
dirty. So it's a
Yeah.
different world. I hope I answered your
Yeah.
question, but
You did. You did. And then it made me think of something else because you were talking about that there will be that some kids there can be this tendency in children, right, where it's like, well, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to sneak in there, whether it's because they want something fairly innocent, like I want to be able to chat with my friends while I game, and then they end up somewhere they didn't intend to, or whether there's already this like curiosity about the unknown. So, can you talk a bit about I love this idea that I've heard in the past of like same side parenting of like I'm not your dictator trying to drive you somewhere you don't want to go. I'm on your team and I actually can see further down the road than you can, but we're facing the same
yeah.
direction and I want to help shepherd you through really to your book's metaphor, like this wilderness in which we find ourselves. So what suggestions do you have for coming at this with our children more as a partner instead of or whatever
Yeah.
analogy you would use. But I think about that of like how can my kids feel same side instead of this oppositional force? What are your tips for creating that environment?
Sure. You and I've talked about this a little bit before recording, but I
Mhm.
talk about the no shame game.
Yes.
Is that we want to build relationship with our kids. If they see something, they will know that they can come to mom, Anna, and say, Mom, I just saw something that I know I'm not supposed to see, and I feel very guilty about it.
Yes.
And I want to talk to you about it. And you're like, all right, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. And they know it's not be like, what are you talking about? And you crush the phone and slam it. And
Hmm.
but mom, you're a safe space.
Yeah.
Now, can I tell you how to create that safe space? Yeah, I have tips and tricks, but it's just the biggest thing is we know there's going to be guilt. There are consequences to actions, right? But the no
Yes.
shame aspect. So what I recommend is enter the conversation early. And I know, Anna, you and I talked about this, that you've
Mm.
had talked to your kids about it. And sometimes we don't know if we've talked to our kids about it or not, but
Yeah.
it's going to be uncomfortable, but just to broach it like, hey, you know what? I've told Gus this, as a young man, I struggled with this. It was different.
Hmm.
Um, and I could not talk to my parents about it. I didn't know. My dad did not sit down to me, so I didn't know how to talk about it. And it was something I struggled with. So today I'm going to be your ally. You may see something you don't want to see, and we have a code word, and I talk about this in the book. Gus and I do. He can come up to me if we're in public and say, Dad, shield up. It's our word, but anybody, you can make up your own world. And I know, oh, I got you, Gus. Let's close the device. You and I are going to talk about this later. So we're allying. We're in a team. We're fighting against this together. Okay. We are going to fight against, because the algorithm's coming for you. And I want him to be aware of that, right? So, and I homeschool. I'll just give you that content. So we are able to really, not intentionally, but we're really able to shield our kids a lot from stuff. And there's nothing wrong with public school, but just
And
hang
there's
on a
just
second.
more
I'm sorry,
access. So, you have a code word with Gus. You guys are in this together. You have
Yes.
a lot of ability to curate the environment because you homeschool, not that there's anything wrong with public school, and that's where you left off.
Well, and the other thing about that is that we know that our kids are going to be exposed. I mean, let's just be honest, okay? We don't want them to, but may have a cousin, a friend, that their friends do not curb, their parents don't curb their access like we may. So that's why it's important to have this conversation, because if we don't have it with them, somebody else is going to.
Yep.
And not to sound like all scary and dark web, but the algorithm's going to have that with them too. So if we can wait to introduce devices, that's our best strategy, right? But we know that kids got to have devices. We want to know where our kids are. It's just the reality. So teach them responsibly. I think I will say this. And I share about this, but I sat across a table with a dad, and he said, his son was in deep trouble with some legal issues, but he said to me, I've done everything that I could. I thought I did everything right, but now my son is lost in this. And the thing that we talked about, and this is not a guilt thing. So if you're there as a parent, you're like, man, I've really messed up. I've not had this conversation with my kid. I know my kid's already struggling with this. It's okay. It's okay, because there's still hope. And I was telling the dad that, but one of the things he realized is that he let his job and all of his goals. So this is a whole nother subject, right? That's a different podcast, but it's just be engaged. I mean, with your kids, and it's hard. Parenting's hard. I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to give a device and say, here, why don't you play Minecraft for a while so mom and dad can talk?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you've been there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the other thing I say also, because, and I think I shared this with you a little bit, Anna, but as we were launching this project, I sat down with a group of men and I was like, hey, I want to do this. And they're like, well, we can't ask parents to engage in this because there's moms and dads struggling with this with themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then we're never going to do this. And I want to say to any mom or dad that are struggling with this and or have had victory over this, your scars, they do not disqualify you to ally your children in this way. Your scars are actually, God can use your scars.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, we all have scars, right? None of us are perfect. So
that's right. That's right. And it's the
I just
point
want
of
to
the cross.
encourage people in that way. Yeah, I'm not perfect. And so it's a no shame game, really.
I love it. Yeah.
My ADD somewhere around there.
There's all kinds of thoughts when it comes to this topic. And I think
there's a lot.
One of the things that strikes me as you talk about the no shame game is I think about, thankfully, a relatively small issue that we had to deal with that was kind of one of those through no fault of their own, somebody kind of stumbled on something. And the first feeling that I felt was shame, like I didn't do enough. I didn't protect enough. I let them go somewhere that wasn't safe enough. And so I think we need to recognize that if we are feeling shame about our part that we didn't do enough, then we're going to have a real hard time not offloading that shame. What do you mean? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't I find out sooner? Or whatever it is. And so one of my favorite hacks is so simple. It's just before I open my mouth, I've named what shame feels like in my body. It feels like a burning sensation. I feel sick to my stomach. And so when I feel it, I'm like, now's not my second to speak. And I just take a quick deep breath. Okay. How can I respond with love here? And my favorite hack is when I don't think I'm ready to make I'm going to talk like a homeschool nerd. When I don't feel like I'm in a position to make a declarative sentence, I ask a question like, can you tell me more?
Love that.
Right? Because then if I'm still having to kind of manage my emotions, I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling anxiety. Are they going to be okay? Is this the first conversation that's going to be an addiction 20 years later because I didn't, because they went to somebody's house that they shouldn't have gone to and now it's all over. We start to catastrophize. And that's not going to help. And
Yeah, I
so I
love
just
that.
think about like, okay, what were the couple things that helped me in that one moment and in so many others? And it was like deep breath and then ask a question while I continue to collect myself and just that open hand because it all sounds the worst moment most often is when they open their mouths. And then like I had one recently where a kid came to me crying, super convicted, and I thought it was going to be something really, really scary. And it was teeny tiny, almost to the point where I was like, "Don't laugh, Anna, don't laugh."
Yeah.
It was so little.
Yes.
But the other thing too, and I'd love your thoughts on what else we can do in that first moment of like, but one other thing I found is we celebrate the conviction of the Holy Spirit. This is wonderful. I'm so proud of you. Look what the Lord has done. He convicted you. Like
Amen.
that's what we want, because there like if it was a week or a month or 6 months or whatever, he still did it. He pricked that child's conscience or whoever we're talking to, and that's cause for celebration because it says that
Well, even in doing in the context of sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah,
I just got excited about that thought. But even the
yes,
safe space of doing it with us, right?
yes,
That we can celebrate that. Like, oh, I get to be a part of this. Yeah, I
yes,
love that. I
uh-huh,
mean, yeah, I hopefully my parents don't listen to, but I mean, that just wasn't how we
yeah,
were raised. I mean, it was like,
yeah,
okay, I mean, move your hand, we're gonna it's just the way it was. It
yeah,
was yeah, I mean, I know I was a challenging young man to raise, but I think God has just given us such wisdom in the way we can raise our children now.
yeah,
And there's so many neurological things that go on with if we think about like when kids are exposed to images, and this is why it's so important, like the average age is like 8 or 9 for young
yeah.
men.
Okay, say
And
that again because someone needs to hear this.
eight
The average age
is
for a child to see a pornographic image is 8 or 9.
8. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And here's the thing, their brains don't know how to process it. The
yeah,
dopamine loop, it becomes an addiction. Not to go deep down in there, but it's the same thing like a gambling addiction or anything along that lines. Um, they're not set up for that. And
yeah,
normally dopamine's our pleasure chemical. So like a good conversation like you and I are having,
yeah,
that can hit us like a 2 or 3. But when you are exposed to something that just takes you to the max, like
yeah,
9 or 10, I say it's like putting nitro fuel in a go-kart. That makes me sound
mhm,
old, but it's going so fast.
yeah,
And and the kids don't know how to handle that. And so
yeah,
that's a lot of guilt and shame come in. They're like, oh, I just saw something and I don't know what to do about it. And I don't know what to do with all these emotions.
yeah,
Um, so I, you know, I have the privilege with Gus to really have those beginning conversations. But, one of the questions I guess asked a lot is like, what about my 16 or 17-year-old that are
yeah.
already struggling with this?
Yeah, speak to
And
that. Or how do we know if they're struggling? What if you're like, I've got
well,
these mid to upper teens, the average age is
yeah.
8. How do I know? And then what?
Well, I call it there's like the optical pulse. Now there are kids that are neurodivergent. This won't be, but I mean, if your kid cannot sit down and make good eye contact with you, it doesn't have to be pornography or digital addiction, but there's something that they're carrying, shame that they
Mm-hmm.
don't want to connect with you on. And I do have scripts in the book, like how do I have this conversation? These are just words that I've come up with or have
Yeah.
researched. But it is a good way. And you would agree with this. We have to dig in. You have to lean in and
Yeah.
just love them through it. They're not going to like it. I mean, even the first talk about sex, um, kids are like, I'm going away. I'm running away. I'm hiding. Don't ever
Yeah.
talk to me about that again.
Yeah.
That is disgusting.
Yeah.
But you were like, no, you need to know. But and it's the same way.
Yeah.
There's a chapter I write like, it's lost. My kid is never talking to me again. What do I do? And the simple part of it is that keep leaning in, always be present, be the person that they know. They're hopefully will pray that they will come around,
Yeah.
and just continue to be that no shame. I'm going to love you no matter what, just like the Father comes to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that we're going to be that God, sorry, but this is the garden. When first the fall of man, God's like, yeah,
Yes.
okay, what else
Mhm.
do you got? Because I'm still going to love you. Yes, there's
Yes.
consequences and all this is
Yes.
going to happen now, but guess what? There's still love here, and
Yeah.
we can continue to communicate to our children even when our adult children seem lost. So
Mm. Oh, okay. And so now take me here, because here's one of the things I'm noticing right now. There's like, I feel like there's a not enough lane where it's like I have not been revelatory enough about what they might find out there. But then there's also a too much, I feel like, where it's like I don't want to be too graphic or too fear,
oh yeah,
or I worry about that. Is that a valid fear? And if so, like, because for example, I have a tender-hearted kid who gets really upset at the idea of like the internet's out to get me. Like it feels very
right.
personal and like kind of predatory, and it is, but it feels like so over the top that it's actually, in some ways, I'm like, was that counterproductive? Because now we're afraid that someone's knocking down our door or that they can see our living room. And so I don't know. Can you speak to that of like, how do we find
Sure.
that space between not enough and too much, especially when we've got multiple kids, multiple ages?
Right. And then they have to use technology for school,
Hmm.
or, how do we teach them? You mean, and let me just, so I can understand your question. How do we talk to our kids about internet without making them scared?
Yeah, like how do we give them
Yeah.
either about the internet as a const or as a tool, or also about sex, about pornography? Like
Yeah.
I know there's a book, Bad Pictures, that kind of gives a
Good
cursory.
pictures, bad pictures.
Yeah, good picture.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
it is. Thank you. Good pictures, bad pictures. That
Yes.
that
Yeah.
kind
We've
of
used
gives
that
an
book too.
overview, but like what
Sure.
else? What do we need to know to
That's,
kind of find that place?
yeah. Our kids hate that book because it's like, ugh. And even we've talked about this, even like me talking about this, like, do we use the word pornography? The kids never even heard of the word pornography, and now we're introducing the word to them, and
Yeah.
now they're searching it up, and suddenly they know what it
Oh,
is.
I didn't think about that.
That is
Okay, so
that's so
yeah,
scary, right?
yeah, yeah,
But there's a way. You and I've already used that today, saying bad images, bad pictures. So we'll talk about that first. But like I've already said, if we need to go ahead and know that if we don't talk about it, somebody else is going to have this conversation with our children,
yeah,
even if we're protecting, even if we've locked them in a room. And then one of the things that I talk about with my kids is, yes, technology is powerful, but we have to use it responsibly. That there is, and we even just talk about the algorithm, and for me, that's an easy way. Like, hey, there are companies out there that are selling you as a product, and that this doesn't help. Sorry,
yeah,
but they're selling you as a product, and we want to avoid that. So we just talk about, hey, we're going to use technology, but we're going to not, social media is not something you have to have.
hmm,
Um, that's hard, right, for some families, but I feel like that is where you really need to start. And
yeah,
really, to answer your question, it is setting parameters, and you may have to be the bad person, but helping them as you set parameters. Like, I love you, Gus, so much that
yeah,
I want you to have technology, but I want you to understand that life is so much, here's my wilderness side, but so much more richer than the screen that you're looking at right now.
yeah.
And I want you to, and I talk about this in the book, but it doesn't, I'm sorry, I keep saying the book, but it is what the resource that I'm talking about.
I want my people
Yeah.
to read the book. So yeah,
But
yep,
here's what we talk about is getting the kids. You and I were talking about this earlier. We grew up outside,
yes,
and just helping them understand. So unplugging. And we even have days and weeks where we're just going to unplug, and our vacation is going to be a no technology vacation. My
yeah,
kids were like, how did your dad and mom know where to take you without the internet. I was like, well, there's this thing called the map. And dad looked on a map and it's like state park and there was a phone. We dialed or no, it wasn't that bad, but we called. So to answer your question, to kind of clue in, how do we introduce this conversation? And I'm just like a very optimistic, but I always use the sandwich method to the kids. You may have done this when you've been in leadership, like, hey, this is really good, but this is the bad part, but this is the good part. So like the technology is a great thing, but within that, there is this. And I want to teach you how to protect yourself from that. And you don't even need to go down that road. And here's why we can use technology responsibly. I hope that hopefully that's helpful.
I love that sandwich method of just because it kind of couches everything as far as like, here's the best it has to offer. We don't need to be afraid, right?
Right.
It's a tool. It's just a tool.
Yeah.
And then
And you can stay away from the bad stuff.
yeah, that's so good. That's so good. So one of the other things that I'd love to hear your thoughts on, I have one hack on this and I want to know what else you got, is like
Okay.
these can be hard conversations to broach as a parent. The one hack I have that has become my favorite is I love talking about this stuff in the car because they can't leave and
Yes.
we don't have to look at each other. And so they seem to be more comfortable asking follow-up questions and saying hard things and being willing to kind of stumble over their words, whether it's about physical intimacy, whether it's about pornography, whether it's about just like reasoning through how do we live well. The car has become our go-to spot for all of those chats,
Mm.
either one-on-one or like my husband will laugh sometimes because he turns on the radio when he gets in the car. And then when I'm driving, the radio's off and the children are literally falling all over themselves, asking me questions about everything from, what happened during the 1920s with the women's suffrage movement to like, how do you know whether an animal is a boy or a girl, to like, where do babies come from? I mean, we go everywhere. And then like, what do you think is going
Wow,
to
that's
happen
awesome.
on Survivor on Wednesday? It's
That should be your pod. You need to. I'm sorry,
just
but
car
that needs to
chats.
be a side podcast. Car chats.
It
I
really is
like to
very
take.
hysterical. Yeah. So that's my
Yeah,
one
I
hack.
like to take my
What
kids
else?
into the woods. To the woods.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
Okay, I mean where I live, right? Because I
Yeah.
mean we go on a hike together,
Yeah.
and we're our bike ride or wherever, but just outdoors.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we do, we're like, hey, what do you think about? I mean, if say that we're talking about biology, but it's a good way. Like we'll talk about animals. This is the way I've actually talked to Gus about intimacy and sex. Is like, hey, there's the deer. How do deers make more deer? He's like,
That's
I don't know, Dad.
so
And
good.
but he's teaching me. I know that's crazy. That seems so basic, but he's teaching me. He's like, well, Dad, I guess. I mean, yeah. So we'll have it's like, well, there has to have you have to have a daddy deer and a mommy deer, or a buck and a doe, and they have to be able to have time where they created another deer. So it's not
Wow.
as gross as talking about mom and dad,
Yeah.
gross in their aspect, but it's a beautiful thing. But
Yeah.
and
It's true.
but
Yeah.
I think that's a safe space that for my son, he's very wilderness curious. So it has been a great way to talk about that. The other
That's
thing
great.
conversation that I had is in when we're doing Bible study together, we were talking about marriage the other day, and we were talking about the analogy of a fireplace, and I have this in the book, but like intimacy in marriage. So I try to give Gus this analogy, like when we have that within the context of a fire ring, and the fire is a beautiful thing, but when we use it outside the containment. So Gus and I were building a fire together. This is why I'm telling
Yeah.
you this. I said, if you were thinking about marriage this way, but if we built this fire and it didn't have the fire ring, what would happen? Oh, it would travel in the leaves. And then what? It could start a forest fire.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it would take a lot, but I just love to use those analogies. It makes it easier to have conversations with boys. Now, I don't know about girls as much, but
Well, I can
I
see
think with
that
kids,
being analogous for sure. Absolutely. Of just the
just
dangers.
finding
And
ways.
yeah.
But
Hmm.
I love the way the car is an awesome place.
It's
It
been
it really is.
fantastic. And
They can't run away.
it's become a sacred space where they literally, one of my children does not want to listen to the radio because he just wants to see where we're going. There's such a
Oh
wild,
yeah.
it's like the Wild West. Is anything's fair game? And I'll talk about all of it with them, at age appropriate
Well, yeah,
levels.
and
But
if we can pull kids into the woods, um, there's nowhere else for them to go because they're dependent on you to find their way back.
yeah, that's
Um,
right. Well, and I love too
jokingly but serious at the same time.
the other part of that is it also because the tip I think this was there's a channel on social media that's called The Birds and the Bees or something. It's something related to bees that's about this, how do we talk to our children about these intimate things that they need to know about.
Yeah.
And their point about the car was you're both facing forward instead of them needing to make eye contact with you, which is more comfortable
Hmm.
for them. And sometimes for us too, because it is like, it's intimate information. And I'll just note a side conversation that happened recently in our home, which is we were reading the scriptures. I was reading out loud to my children, and we were in Proverbs, and they pipe up and they say, "What's a loose woman?" And we're off and running, and they were
Yeah.
like, it was a hysterical conversation because we've talked about physical intimacy many times, and we've talked about, the idea of I've heard the fire analogy. I think it's a wonderful one. So even though we are not campers in the slightest, they still understand because we've made s'mores out and stuff. And but
Yeah.
they're older than the last time they revisited that conversation, and they were hooting and hollering. We were laughing so hard.
I think, listen, Anna, you're exactly what we're pushing for, right? Not, I'm not trying to butter you up, but like having these conversations, and it's rich. Like
Yeah.
one of the things I talked about at Dad, I was like, man, you know what's so amazing about if you implement some of these things from the book, your kids. Why did you have kids?
Yeah.
And he goes,
Yeah, why did you have, well, it's
why did you
it's
have
fun,
kids?
but
Yeah. But our kids are such a joy if
yeah,
we tap in to the resource. I love that. I, I love, man, that just makes me so happy
I
because
know.
I can relate to that. We've had so many fun conversations, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's why we had kids. We had created these children because we want them to love God. We want them to
Yes.
be shining examples. We want them to help lead other people to Christ. And the
Yes.
part we didn't really feel like we signed up for, and I'm experienced as I have a 22-year-old daughter, launching them out there. That's hard. You're like,
Yes.
but wait, I brought this little baby home. Do I really have to let them
Yeah.
leave? And what we're really the goal of this project is we want these kids to be able to leave the home and be
Yes.
able to do the exact same thing that we're doing and have these
Yes.
conversations and not be scared of what's
Hmm.
out there, but give them the tools.
Yes.
And yeah, they're so I don't want to be like, but there are so many things that are against us out there, and Satan will
Um,
use so many tools. But man,
it's so true.
your stories are so encouraging to me. Just
Oh,
those conversations. Yeah, one of our daughters, she loves to process everything, and the car is where we process.
yeah.
One of the things I share, and I want to share this, is like boys that are like have been very addicted to digital devices, and all they can talk about is like Minecraft and stuff like that. One of the things we experience, I run a trail life troop, and trail life is a small. It's similar to Boy Scouts, but it's very
Yeah.
biblically based, and we'll take boys out that have a lot of digital addiction.
Yeah.
And we'll be on trips for like 4 or 5 days. The first day, I'll just use the term little Johnny, is just talking about everything that was going through his mind. But
Mhm.
when you get into the second or third day, there's like they come out of a coma, if I could use that analogy, of
Yeah.
like the first time they crack a stick. And it doesn't even have to be outdoors, but just away from it. They smell air. They are aware of sounds that they're like, man,
Yes.
the birds are really loud.
Yeah.
And are even being in a city like wow cars are really loud,
Hmm.
just being aware, awakening the senses, because digital addiction will numb all of your senses out and all
Yeah.
how to relate to life.
I'm so glad you brought that back because I was like, I know it's so important. I wanted to make sure we talked about like pornography and how do we help them, walk in
Mhm.
purity and what do we do when they encounter something they didn't mean to and how do we keep those lines of communication open? But can we pull on that thread a little bit? I want to talk about just digital addiction in general because I find my husband and I just had a date night last night where I was like, I am so frustrated with the way that we engage with screens. It's always like, well, when can we watch again? Can we listen to an audiobook? Can we do this? And I'm like, the world is so beautiful. And by the way, I gave birth to 3 extra kids so that you would have something to do. Like, this is not,
Yes.
you don't need to watch. And it just creeps. It's like they're into 3 of the 4 are into Full House right now, and they watch it. But each one is watching their own individual episode at different places. And I'm like, it breaks my heart because I'm like, I want you together. So we aren't
Unplug
leaving
the
it
internet.
there.
No, I'm just
Right.
joking.
Yeah. Well, I know that's one of the suggestions that somebody gave. And so, talk to me, and I'll just be a bit revelatory about our story. My husband and I run businesses. We've got a rental property where guests stay, and we need to know if something's going
Hmm.
on. So there are these, and then we both have older parents in their 80s. And so there's this sense of we need the door open where we can be gotten to. But oh my stars, all of us struggle with like pick up the phone, grab the computer. And the kids don't even have phones yet. They're just grabbing the tablets and the computers. So help me, help us. What about
It's
that?
interesting. My friend Bill was talking about this, that the phones give us this false sense of security
Mm,
that you know, like, did your parents know where you were when you were younger? No.
no,
Now,
no.
granted, I agree. I mean, my mom is older and she's on our Life 360 because I want to make sure she's not lost when she's
Yeah,
driving. That's a
yeah,
beautiful thing, but it does give us a false sense of security.
yeah.
One of the things I'll tell you, a local Chick-fil-A did. They awarded families if they came in and they didn't touch their phone the whole time, everybody got a dessert. And I love
Oh,
that. But
that's so
yes,
sweet.
it is such a struggle. I mean, do you do this? Like, do you have no devices during dinner time? Do
Yes,
y'all
we
do that?
do.
I mean,
Yes.
but you and your husband, and this is not a parenting
Yeah.
thing, but I mean, a marriage thing. But you know, does it frustrate you when you go to the restaurant? You'll see like husband and wife are like this from
Hmm.
each other, and little
Yes.
Susie or Johnny, sorry, they
Yes.
got their headphones on. They're watching the
Yes.
Disney Channel.
Yes.
Charlie,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
oh,
Which
why are you even at the restaurant?
I know. And I will say, to be fair, that wasn't even an option when our
Oh,
youngest was in diapers. And I'm like, I wonder, because we had some times where we're like ca
one
carrying
hundred
screaming
percent.
toddlers out of the restaurant while my husband's furiously paying the bill, and we're like, why did we even pay
Yes.
$60 on this dinner?
No,
So
we've used screens. We use them too, and it's so easy. But I think and you have the advantage of this is Gus told me, he's like, Dad, I just want a flip phone. I'm like, all right, how old are you? You're 11. I'm writing this down.
hmm hmm
But our kids honestly are watching us.
Yes.
They
Yes.
watch how we interact with our devices. And my son Gus knows the control it has over us.
Yes.
They see it. The kids are watching and
Yes.
they're like, this coming generation, they're like,
Yes.
I don't want that. I
I've heard
don't
that.
want
Gen
that.
Alpha, they're getting the flip phones. They're tired of it.
They,
Yeah.
they don't want it. They don't want to be tracked. I don't know if that's true or not,
Yeah.
but two, they don't want, it is, man, we were so excited when we got our first iPhones. We're like,
I
man,
know.
life's going to be so much better. It's got
Hmm.
music on it. I can take pictures and whatever. I can play Snake. Well, something better than Snake. But so that's the big push that I talk and we talk about a lot. My wife and I will in the living room sometimes like we are both looking down at our device, and Gus is
Yes.
over there playing Legos, and he's
Mm.
just wanting us. I
Yeah.
don't want to play Legos, but I will because I
Yeah.
need to. But
Hmm.
he's just begging for our attention.
Yeah.
It's a self awareness, right?
Yeah.
So I do have in the book it's like a checklist like, okay, what is absorbing all of our family's attention today,
Yeah. Yeah.
and being able to do a digital fast.
Hmm.
Does that answer your question?
So
That's
good.
one strategy that
Yes. And also I found it's helpful for me to I loved what you talked about when you were talking about like I get to see my child's phone, they get to see mine. But
yes.
I let my kids also call me back if I'm letting like there is sacred space that's our space. The family dinner table is one. And then
Yes.
also there are like we'll go on outings. I do my husband and I do dates with our kids. Each kid gets a date with each parent once a month. So they'll have a mom date and a dad date each month. 4 kids, 4 weeks. It works out pretty well. And so that's sacred space. Like unless we're watching a show together. And to me, this was one of our principles that we came to yesterday when my husband and I were talking is like there the solo watching stuff needs to be like a garnish to life if it's ever happening, right? It's like here,
Yep.
okay, you can have a little bit. You have a little bit of this, but for the most part, this is meant to, and garnish makes it sound like it's a good thing, which it's not. Like let
No, I got you.
it's like let's connect for real. And if that means my husband has a very physical job, he's tired by the end of the day. He only works a couple of days a week, which is a mercy, but um he just needs to sit down. And so we do family movie, and that's lovely because it's a shared experience and we pop the popcorn and I make hot chocolate and it becomes an event. But it's when we're just staring down in our belly buttons all by ourselves that I'm like, we're not living our best lives right
Yeah.
now. Nobody is, you know? So, okay, good. So
Yeah, we only had 3 channels when we were growing up. Well, I'll
I
speak for myself, but
I
three, and we
know.
were all watching the same TV shows.
But
We were all
I
watching the
remember, when Fox came
Gears
around and
or
we were like, there's a fourth channel.
yeah. We don't have to watch reruns of the Beverly Hillbillies or whatever,
I know.
or MASH.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I was having lunch with somebody today and we are talking about, you remember when we all would watch, he was talking about the Cosby Show or something. We were all like,
Yes.
everybody talked about it, like, oh, but it was just
Yes.
simpler. And I mean,
It
we can't,
was.
there's no way we can bring that back.
I
I
know.
mean, people barely have cable TV now. But anyways, you were going to ask a question, but I was just celebrating what you're saying. I think it is it it is like very dangerous when everybody's watching their own program, and it does
Mm-hmm.
create addiction. It creates
Yeah.
dependency. My daughter, she for a while was very addicted to just watching Instagram reels.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe
Oh, and
edit the
they'll
name
get
out.
you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and you agreed, like when we all like everybody's watching their own programs, or if your children are watching Instagram reels and want to show you reels, can become a very addictive thing,
Yeah.
the endless scrolling. And I can fall into the algorithm too. Like,
Yes.
you know, I start watching things about fishing. I don't know, I don't really fish, but it's going
Yeah.
to be everything about that. And I think one of the things you hit on is family time is so crucial,
Yeah.
and that's what we're really trying to pull people into is the value of like, why did we have children, and to
Yes.
celebrate, are there beautiful things, and to be a dad and to be able to lead your son through, just direct the way, like, I struggle with this. I don't want you to struggle with this. I know I sound old,
Yeah.
but I'm going to protect you whether you want it or not. We're going to walk alongside this together.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you want to look at my device, this is my password, and
Yes.
being transparent, because that's what we're modeling. I talked about that earlier, but our kids are watching us
Yes.
every step we make. So,
Oh, that's so good. And one of the things that's been a helpful line of conversation with my children is I'll be like, we really need to watch the devices. And sometimes I'll even be really like frustrated, like, what do we do? I don't know how to handle it. And
mhm.
and they're like, Mom, you're on your phone too. And so one of the things that's been helpful is the temptation is for me to justify, well, we've got this business and we've got these other things. But I've started realizing that rings a little hollow because there are times when there's absolutely no emergency. There's no reason for me to have my phone in my hand. And so it's been much more, I think, authentic for me to just look at them and say, I really struggle with this too. Like,
Yep.
and it's actually built to make me struggle with it. Like the whole system is built to call to me like, and they know
You're a
about
product.
what's that?
You're a product.
Yes. Well, and like they've read the story of like Odysseus being strapped to the mast as the siren song is happening. And I'm like, these phones are like sirens. They buzz and they
Wow.
ding. And it's like a different, even I just got an iPhone as opposed to a Samsung. And like the buzzes are different for different reasons. And I'm like, why is that different? What does that mean? What's just happened right now? I don't know how to turn
Or
off the
if you have a watch,
notifications.
I mean, I took my
I,
watch off before we started
uh-huh.
because I'm like Pavlov's dog. I mean, it's like
What
I
is it?
get a
What's happening
buzz. I'm like,
now?
what's going on? And I've learned I just need to take it off. Like
Yeah.
whatever's happening for the next whatever, it'll be okay. They can call 911.
That's right. And I work, that's, you can call 911. That's true. And really, I love what you said. I think this is so worth highlighting. It gives us the illusion of control. oh, my parents will be okay because the whoever needs to can get me quickly, or I can get the 911 call, or the dispatcher can call my house, or whatever it is. And the truth of the matter is, I'm actually kind of selling my piece quite cheap, because how often is that really going to happen, right? And so I'm now imminently available 24/7 to the notifications of my latest email that's trying to sell me something, just in case. And it sounds noble, but I'm kind of checking myself and going, I had a situation just today where the light turned green. I was supposed to drive through, but I didn't realize that I also had the left-hand turn lane. So I was waiting for somebody to come straight through the intersection. They never did. While I'm pausing for those 3 seconds to figure out that it's actually my right of way when I'm trying to turn left, a car came speeding through a red light and would have clocked us if I'd gone when I was supposed to go. And that moment is coming back to me now, because I'm like, God is so kind. If we need to know that dad's in the hospital, or that there's an emergency at the house, or whatever it is, I don't need to manufacture that moment. Like, he is sovereign enough that, oh, I just happened to pick up the phone because I'm on my way out the door, and then I get the phone call. He can do that, right? And so
Mhm.
may we lay down our machinations that are destroying our peace and just be like, it's
Oh, I love
okay.
that.
Right?
Do you have any
It
kids
really
that drive
touches
yet?
me. No, 14 is my
Okay.
oldest.
Well, I mean, we have Life 360, and
Yeah.
so definitely we've been in the trap of like, why isn't, why is our car stopped? They're not moving.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are we doing to ourselves?
Yeah.
Um, it's even if they're in a wreck, and we
Yeah.
will find out. It is one, we're spending a lot of money just to have that notification,
Yeah.
but two, it is so overbearing. I mean,
Hmm.
real quick, I'll tell the story, but early in our marriage, I had so much anxiety and we didn't even have Life 360. When my
Hmm.
wife, we'd moved to a new town, and I was just nervous about her driving. She was driving from upstate South Carolina to Greenville, and I was just nervous about their drive. And it became so debilitating for me to worry about her all the
Yeah.
time. So that's a different conversation, but I think the
Hmm.
devices can give us that false sense of security. And I
Yes.
think that's what the product that we're selling to our kids sometimes is like, this is the way we're entertained. This is the way that you're going to get, this is going to bring you satisfaction. Well,
Yeah.
ultimately, the face-to-face interaction that we can have. If you and I could met in person and done this at the coffee shop, this is good. I'm just saying, but the
Yeah.
richness of those type of conversations is so much richer.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah, because doesn't it isn't it even different, like from a chemical perspective, if you're
Physiological. Yeah.
yeah, if you're in
Yeah.
person. Yeah, because like
Yeah.
I can only see like shoulders up, and so I don't there's that
Right.
lack of
Yeah.
access of like knowing someone about the way they sit and what they get to drink and all of these different things. So
Yeah.
that's
It's
so
so
good.
good.
Yeah. And
It
so
is.
it's like I was thinking about the conversation that we're going to have with our children about digital, about screen time. And it's like, may we not trade the good for may we not exchange the
Mhm.
great for the good, right? It's like I think about C.S. Lewis's line that's, I can't remember what of his writings or speeches it was, but he's like, we fool around, we're like children. Do you know this one? We're children making mud piles in the
Oh
slums.
yeah. I don't know the quote, but I've heard
Yeah.
it.
And he
Yeah.
says something like, we're fooling around with drink and sex and random things that we're doing. We're far too easily pleased was his last line, but he says we're fooling around with these mud piles in the slums because we have no concept of a day at the shore. And right, I just like you can feel the salt air when he says that. We're
Yeah.
far too easily pleased. And I think, Doug, if I were to say like what I hear you saying in all of this is that we're far too easily pleased. May we enter in ourselves and invite our children into this wonder that the Father offers to us. Get off the device looking at your belly button at someone else hiking and hike, like stop looking for an image that might satisfy for a moment when you can have a relationship that satisfies for a lifetime. It's such a beautiful invitation. How does that land for you, and anything that you would add to that perspective?
Well, it makes me think about a T-shirt that my daughter has that says, if there is a boy that plays video games, he's a no-go for her. But says,
Yes.
get outside and touch grass. And
Yes,
I don't know
I
if that's
love
like
that
a
shirt.
phrase that
I've
they
seen it.
use.
Yes, I've seen that
Yes,
phrase. Yeah.
but it is that, right? And the wonder, I will say this, we've had kids, we used to do camps with inner city kids, and they would come up to upstate South Carolina, and just the awe and the wonder of just seeing nature. Oh my gosh, it just bring tears to your eye. The joy that they would feel of just seeing a river and getting in cold water and
Yes.
even seeing a skunk, but just we miss so much. Just being, I don't know, this has really morphed into like digital addiction, but it is, this
Yeah.
is the heart of it, is that building real relationships with your children is so important. But the
Yeah.
thing that we're really trying to guard against is we don't want our kids to go down the path of being addicted, that the only image that they have about intimacy was an image that was given to them
Mhm.
through a pornography, and that being what they believe intimacy is about. And that's
Yes.
ultimately what we want. One of the things we really want to guard our kids against, because we want them to know the richness that God created for marriage and the way
Yeah.
intimacy is supposed to be within that fire ring and the beautiful thing that it creates for the world. That's the desire. We don't want it to be corrupted. I mean, not to go down this, but one of the things I learned in SANE nursing is that most pornography and is created by unwilling participants.
Oh,
That,
that's so
but
terrible.
the people that are creating this image, and I will tell young boys this if I hear, I'm like, that person you're looking at, that is not a joyful moment for them. This
Yeah.
is something they have been a situation most likely they've been put into or forced
Mhm.
into or is out of desperation.
Yeah.
And really what we don't want to participate in that, because we would love to be able to reach out to that person and say, you are more valuable than this image. And God created you to be this beautiful woman, but you don't have to put yourself in this situation
Yes.
to show your beauty.
Hmm.
My wife says to me all the time, she doesn't know a female that would really desires to be in those type of situations. I'm sorry I went
Yes.
down the avenue, but
No,
it
it's
is so
important. Yeah.
true. It is so true that we know that it's it's just that the perversion of all that is leading to the detriment of relationships and so many things that people struggle with. So
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
that's what sparked a lot of this for me, is like a young man telling his mom, like, I wish I knew how to talk to you about this because I've been
Hmm.
struggling with it. And how do we have those conversations? And that's
Hmm.
the goal of the Vanguard Project and everything we're creating. It's like we've got scripts, we've got how to have those first conversations. If you find something, what to do, how to have
Yes.
those days. I mean, I call it a manual because there is everything. We haven't even talked about aspects of it, but yeah,
I know
how
there's
to,
scripts. Okay. Sorry. Some of you guys need that information. There's a script out there.
well, and even chapter 4, I'll just talk about, it's calling about the shield wall. Um, just people that can walk alongside of you. There's going to be
Hmm.
a time where your kids are going to think that you don't know what you're talking about. So you want to ally yourself with people that are going to tell them exactly what you're going to tell them. So I
Yes.
call it the shield wall. But anyways, there's a lot more to share there, but we can't do it alone. We
That's
really
right.
can't. Just want to change lives. I want it.
I love it.
I want to arm parents. I mean, you have such a beautiful relationship with your children, and
Thank you.
I want people to have that too, the privilege of and the ability to and the knowledge how to be have those relationships with their kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing that's helped us so much is to really understand the idea of like, and I use this language with my kids, that we're fellow sojourners. Like the Lord in his wisdom, and sometimes it feels like wisdom in big quotation marks, decided that I'm mom. And because of that, I have responsibilities and I have a job to do to help, raise and direct these kids to the Lord. But like as far as my fallibility. We're on the same page, we're just
Absolutely.
figuring this out together. And
I may even be a bigger sinner than you.
right,
So
right. I hope so. I hope I'm a bigger sinner than my
me too.
children,
Yeah.
like
Yes. Yeah.
I would rather that. And it
Yeah.
doesn't just, I'm only qualified to speak into their lives because the Lord put me in that position. And it
Your
brings me to my
scars.
knees
Yep.
someday, like some days I'm like,
Hmm.
I have no idea how we're going to handle this, but we're going to give it a go. And so
Or,
I think
or
that's
even when we
created.
leave the hospital with our children, not to cut you off, and then be at home, we're like, the first baby, you're like, okay, what do we do with this?
I
Can we
know.
stay?
You want to hear something crazy? We had our daughter at a birth center, so we were home that night, 3 hours from
Wow.
birth to home. And my husband went to go get some juice or something. I was like, "Are you really leaving me right now?
I don't know what to do with this thing.
This is not
Oh, those
okay."
are beautiful moments.
I know.
I don't
I
know.
know.
The birth
May
of my
we hold
children.
that humility,
Yes.
right? Yeah. And that's what we're working
Ah,
towards is like then to get
yes.
to see them do the same and have that same beautiful journey. So it sounds like that's what you're fighting for, Doug. It's a beautiful thing. Oh,
Yeah. Yes.
okay.
Thank you.
Well, you've given us a little snapshot into your book, but where do my people find you and what resources do you have, including
Absolutely.
end of August? Can we talk about end of August too?
Sure. Yeah. August 29th in North Georgia, we're doing something called the Vanguard Conference, and it's for dads and moms. We're going to talk about this for a whole day, and you're going to be able to walk away with tools. We're even going to do a covenant with the kids at the end. So just every
Wow.
tool I've got some great experts that are going to be there. Bill Jessup, my friend, he does counseling in Birmingham, Alabama, and he's
Awesome.
a great counselor. So he's going to be there. And so just some great leaders that are going to walk alongside of us that day. And also you can go to the vanguardproject.org. Not only can you get the book there, the book is in audio, just came out yesterday. So audio, we have it in Kindle and in paperback, but also have tons of free resources. You can just click on any age group and everything we've talked about, I have the resources on there, even talking about the dangers of Roblox, Discord, how to parent your kid this summer and keep them away from digital addiction and the dangers. So, yeah.
Oh, amazing. Oh, Doug, thank you so much for this.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's been such a joy. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Any final word of encouragement before we wrap up?
I, well, not the sandwich method here, but I know that I carry a lot of burdens, and you and I've talked about that today. I just want to reiterate again, our scars do not disqualify us from doing this. And I,
Yes.
I think and if you want to email me through the website too, I'd be happy to have any email conversation. So all my
Oh,
contact information's on there also. I'd be happy to come talk to your church. You don't even have to pay me. I will come and share with your men's group. I
amazing.
just want the message to get out there.
Yes. Yes. I love your heart for all of this, Doug. It's such a gift. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you so much for being here.
Appreciate
Okay. To you, friend. I hope you've heard. You know what I loved is Doug and I laughed quite a bit through this hard conversation. And I think two of my children, when they asked about the loose woman in Proverbs, even the Word of God opens these conversations up. And just how there was such a sense of like, confusion and hilarity and wonder and there's just so all of the human experience can be housed in these hard holy moments to get to help our children be refined before the Holy Spirit. So have the hard talk that you've been waiting to have. Get in the car and take them for ice cream and they are held hostage. Take them hiking in the woods and just ask questions. No shame. No shame parenting, as Doug says. Until next time, as always, you got this because he's got you.
Friend, thank you so much for listening to this most recent episode of Overwhelmed to Overcomer. So listen, the whole idea behind this mission is that when we endeavor to be brave with our lives, we need to do it together. Belonging is key. So if you resonated with the message from this episode, share it with a friend. Do it together. Thank you again. And until next time, never forget, you've got this because he's got you.